Okay, I need new production equipment. This is J Tricker 717. This is part two. Like I was talking to you guys about the Western Express. So, you know, everybody goes through this test that you're required to take, and you know, if you didn't do well in the back end, they would give you extra instruction. And so I went down to the back end. It was like a couple of days, and they were like, you know, you're not getting paid for this. I was like, what do you mean you're not getting paid for this? He said, it's part of training. He's like, no, since you didn't pass the required test, they don't have to pay you for this. I'm like, I was like, why do you guys keep saying that? I said, I know, I'm a business major, I know employment law. If you are required to be there, they have to pay you at least minimum wage. So sure enough, I got my check, and I never did get my pay for backing. So I said to myself, oh my gosh, they did not pay me for it. Neither did they pay me for waiting for my truck. I was like, these people are off the chain. I said, do they know what they're doing is highly illegal? So that's what the class action lawsuit is. I guess apparently they're being sued because they weren't paying people minimum wage for being there. There were certain portions of the training that they wouldn't pay you for. Again, I don't like to badmouth Western Express to make you think it's a bad corporate company. It's a good company, but they have some areas that they need to work on, and that's one of the things they need to work on. There was a lot of people complaining that they weren't getting their due pay for certain things, and you know, I think one of the big problems with Western Express is they don't have the proper checks and balances to make sure that the corporation is running correctly. You know, and I was shocked to be a corporation that big, and there was certain, you know, portion of the course that you would get paid for. I'm like, they should know better than this. They're a huge company. So yeah, they weren't paying people. And guys were accepting it too. So finally, somebody from Minnesota, I used to live in Minnesota. Minnesota is all about law. They said, oh, heck no, you have to pay them minimum wage. So I'm going to join that lawsuit and get my money back for the little time that they did not pay me for. I left them, you know, very short period of time because of some of the reasons. And then another thing they have, in one of the training courses, this is crazy. I don't know legally by law that you're required to take breaks when you're in a training environment. But in the military, we always, you know, one of the military's rules were if you were in training for an hour, you have to take at least a 10 or 15-minute break. Okay, it's a requirement. I would think that there's probably some type of law that says you have to take a break in training. You have to give them a break. Well, this guy at Western was teaching this class, and he would be teaching for 8 hours straight, and he wouldn't let nobody go to the bathroom. And I'm like, what's it? I'm sorry. So you be in the class for 8 hours, and his reasoning behind this, because Western Express always had a reason why they were doing stuff. Just like they wouldn't pay you for the backup portion of the course because you failed their required test. Even though it's against the law. So what the guy said was that you're a truck driver. You can't go to the bathroom every 2 hours. So if you can't stand not going to the bathroom for 4 or 5 hours, then that's your problem. I'm like, what the heck is this? What kind of sense does that make? Yeah, I said, if people have to go to the bathroom, you cannot legally stop them from going to the bathroom. Oh my gosh, they were so funny. And so, you know, he was teaching, and about 6 hours into the class, I said, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom, and walked out the class. He gave me a dirty look. I said, I'm not gonna sit here for 8 hours and not use the restroom. But yeah, he would sit in the class for 8 hours and would give you a bathroom break or nothing. Oh my God, it was crazy. I was like, oh my God, I just, it's one of those things you're like, wow. This is a huge corporation and they're doing things like that. But yeah, that's Western Express got caught with their pants down. They need to do, like I said, in most training courses, like I said, everybody knows that, you're training, you're teaching, give, after an hour or two, give a person a break to go take a bathroom, smoke, or do whatever. It's just one of those things. I understand you're in a truck. You can't do things like that, but again, in a training environment, it's a relaxed environment. You should allow people to go to the bathroom and take a cigarette, smoke, because most people who are actually trained instructors understand the principle that after 2 or 3 hours, people are no longer listening to you. It's just going in one ear and going out there. So you need that break to kind of get your mind relaxed to get back into the training environment. And most people who are trained instructors understand that, except for this instructor. Okay, but anyway, getting back to I'm having fun, but yeah, they got caught with the pants down. Shame on you, Western Express. You're gonna pay me my money. I'm getting in that class action. All right, what else is going on? I talked about, again, they're pushing hard on that 18-year-old law where you can get a CDL at 18, but you can't go out of the state. In other words, if you live in Texas and you're 18 years old, you can get a CDL. Now you can drive from one end of Texas to the other end of Texas, which is 600 miles. But you can't drive 200 miles into the other state. And that's one of the things that they're pushing. They're like, hey, if a guy can drive 600 miles in-state, why can't he drive 200 or 400 miles to the next state over? So they want to allow 18-year-olds to actually drive out of the state, which is a good thing. I don't think there's going to be any issue with that. So I'm hoping that gets passed or approved. They did approve the highway bill, although it was a small portion, like more of a patch-up type thing. And we don't need patch-ups. I mean, they need to fix these highways. So that's one of the things. Let's try this. Okay. Owner-operators, I want to introduce you to the Qualcomm. Basically, what's going on is that there's a law going on the books that they're trying to get approved, and it's in its final stages, I think, that all people are going to be required to have this beast of an animal, electronic logging. It may not be a Qualcomm, but it's going to be some form of electronic logging. And again, I know a lot of owner-operators that are probably still on the paper logs are going to be a little ticked off about this little beast right here. I really think that once electronic logging, once they get onto electronic logging, a lot of these owner-operators are going to be pretty happy with it. They're going to learn how to figure out how to make things work. Their trucks are not governed. So within 11 hours, they can push some miles still. They'll learn how to adapt to it. Some of the guys are probably going to have maybe some issues with the computer portion, the older guys, because as you get older, you get less computer savvy for some reason. I dealt with computers all my life, and still there's times when my kids know more about the computer than I do. Like, how do you do this? It's just one of those things when you get older, you get less computer savvy because more and more changes are coming and you're not keeping up with them, and you're like, I ain't got time for that crap. But we got to make time for it because it's our livelihood sometimes. All right, but they are definitely coming on board. Freight, I think, is still strong. Everybody's still